Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Make It Anyways. We are chatting all about scrappy crafting this week. Trace, what does that mean?
So I kind of made up this term to summarize this big idea I had in my head, but I feel like you can be crafty without buying traditional crafting materials and just being crafty with using things that you already own.
Hi, I'm Cecilia of Bitch on the Rise.
And I'm Teresa of Joyberry Studios.
And we're two sisters who love crafting.
We wanted to find a fun way to document our makes and things that we're passionate about.
This podcast is just a chill hangout for anyone who loves making stuff, whether it's sewing, knitting, baking, or just getting crafty.
We don't take ourselves too seriously, and we're all about tackling new projects and learning new skills.
We don't focus on perfect, we focus on making it anyways and having fun along the way.
It's like a creative catch-up with friends who relate to the joy of being creative.
Just crafty chats, cozy vibes, no pressure.
Welcome to our podcast, Make It Anyways.
This is kind of like a part 2 to our episode that we released 2 episodes ago about how to sustainably craft. In that episode, we talked about a lot about how to sustainably source and be scrappy with sourcing your materials. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like a part 2 of how to be scrappy and sustainable and crafty with materials that you already have.
Exactly.
So before we get into it, Teresa, what's your current project?
Current project. Okay, so this is a little tease for an upcoming episode that we have, but I am sewing the Adria top. We're actually both sewing
I was going to say,
top.
my current project as well.
Yes, so we're both sewing an Adria top, and we're kind of doing fun things to it, but we don't know what we're doing. So it's going to be a surprise.
Yes. Inspired by the Love to Sew podcast, they do we sew bags, and then they show each other their bags. We thought, oh, how fun, and let's do the Adria top.
Yeah, so we're both sewing the Adria top, and I guess we can't really give away any more than that.
No, that's it. So let's jump right into our fun question. So Teresa, what is one craft you've seen on social media that you were inspired to do?
Okay, so I have recently seen 2 different people do this thing where they'll take a Trader Joe's bag and they open it up and paint on the other side, and they will tape them all together and make these big murals out of Trader Joe's bags, and they are beautiful.
Oh, like the paper bags?
Yes, so they take a paper bag. It's not like their canvas tote.
I thought you were talking about the tote bag.
No, okay. It's just like a paper bag. You could technically use a Whole Foods paper bag. You can use any paper bag
Your
that you
Aldi
want.
paper bag.
But I feel like these 2 girls that I see, it's Harvey Bazaar on Instagram and Ariel Levy. We'll link them below. But they have both taken Trader Joe's bags. So you just open up a paper bag and you can paint on the back, and they make these big murals, and they're just so beautiful. And I love that they use the bags because it gives them the painting a little bit of texture, which I think is really fun.
Also very scrappy.
Yes.
Very fitting for today's
Exactly.
episode.
That's also what I thought. That's what inspired me to think about doing this episode too. All right, Cecilia, what is one craft that you've seen on social media that you're inspired to do?
So this isn't very scrappy, but the whimsifying my wardrobe trend.
Oh, I feel like whimsical is the word for 2026.
It really is. One of my favorite YouTubers, Beep World, she talked about how to whimsify her wardrobe.
Oh, what did she say?
She just said it would be a trend.
Oh, okay.
So it's really happening. But there is one person on Instagram who has really inspired me. She has a bunch of videos about how she's whimsifying her wardrobe, and her Instagram is Y Street Studios.
Okay.
So I would go check her out. So she does all these things really funky things. My favorite is that she hand beaded ants onto her skirt.
I love the one
cute.
she took she thrifted a blazer, and then she put these big chunky beads all along the edges of the blazer. I thought that one was so cool.
Yeah, so just doing, I guess that is kind of scrappy if you already have the stuff, but doing a bunch of different things like that.
So this whole episode is all about scrappy crafting. So I feel like scrappy crafting is just making the most of what you already have. So this is really leaning into using leftover materials, repurposing old items that you have, and then just getting creative and using what you have instead of buying new supplies.
It really is something that you can incorporate into your crafting that makes you more resourceful and flexible, and you can really like kind of flex that creative brain to see potential in things that you might not have before. So I think being a scrappy crafter is really beneficial to you in your creative journey.
Yes, and I also think it's sustainable and very budget friendly.
Oh, yeah.
If you're trying to
budget-friendly.
like not buy supplies and use what you already have, I mean, that is wonderful, great for your wallet and your savings and the earth in general.
Yes.
So for the format of this episode, I think we thought it would be good to kind of talk about like general crafts and then how you can be scrappy within those crafts.
Love.
So the first craft that we're talking about is sewing, obviously, because that's
Yes.
like one of the things that we love to do. One thing that I think can be really fun is that if you take like old textiles that you have, it can be clothing, but it can also be like blankets and towels and sheets and anything like that. And you can do scrappy quilting.
Love.
And like patchwork clothing, I feel like is really in now. So you might not be able to like take a shirt that's too small and make another shirt out of it, but you could take two small shirts and like patchwork them together to make something that fits you.
You can also do visible mending, so using patches to patch some holes in some pants or a shirt. Embroidery, or I always pronounce this wrong, shishiko.
Shishiko.
Oh, okay, I pronounced it correctly. Go me. But those are other visible mending techniques that you can be a little bit more scrappy with to keep using things that you have made.
Yes, I also think like it's really cute if you have like a stain on your shirt to use embroidery to like cover up that stain. And then shishiko is really good for like reinforcing super worn areas. Like knee patches I think is really cute with a shishiko stitching over it. Shishiko, if you don't know about it, it's just like taking like a thicker yarn and then, or sorry, not yarn, a thicker thread, kind of like embroidery floss, and then just making this series of like geometric stitches. It's really beautiful and really in right now. I feel like it's pretty popular.
Yeah, if you haven't, like, if you don't know what it is, I would just suggest like looking it up because it can be really, really beautiful.
Absolutely. And I feel like you can also use a lot of scrap fabric to make a lot of like very practical things.
Oh, yeah.
I've definitely used scrap fabric to make like tote bags. My kids use reusable snack bags. I have a pattern, I'm pretty sure, on my website, Joyberry Studios,
We'll
about how
link
to
it.
make these reusable snack bags. We use them all the time, especially when we're out and about in the summer. You can also make bowl covers. So we do a lot of baking. And I actually use my bowl cover that I sewed like at least 2 times a week.
Oh, I need to make some of those.
I use mine all the time. And then the last thing that you can do is if you have like a cotton shirt, I feel like all of the things we mentioned really go well with like woven fabrics because they don't stretch. But if you have a lot of just like t-shirts with
Maybe
cotton,
you've decluttered.
one thing that you can do is you can actually cut them in such a way that you can make like a cotton yarn out of them, which is really fun. And I've seen a lot of like rag rugs recently that I am obsessed with.
Yes, they're very cute, and you can do them on your sewing machine. And I feel like when you're making yarn out of a t-shirt, it's hard to get it like small enough to actually like repurpose as true yarn to knit or crochet with. So the yarn
You can make
rugs
like
are...
a chunky yarn.
Yeah.
But they do have a way where you can like just cut almost all the way through a shirt, and then you go and you just like cut it diagonally, and then that's a great way to like easily cut a lot of
Yeah.
yarn.
You
from
can
it.
also make like a memory quilt with all your t-shirts.
Oh,
Not a bad
yes.
idea. Yeah.
Those are popular.
Those are very popular.
I feel like that's a really good segue into like being scrappy with your yarn or fiber craft. So we're talking about just like knitting and crocheting and stuff like that.
I feel like when you are doing a knit or crochet project, there is always yarn left over. No
Absolutely.
matter how perfectly you plan it, there will be yarn left over. Even if the math works out that you shouldn't have any, you will.
Absolutely. That's just how it is. So one thing that I'm kind of trying to focus on moving forward is that I love knitting, but I've just decided that like my project will be sock knitting. I have a huge tub of yarn and I feel like it's just overflowing with different yarns, but it's hard because they're all different weights. So kind of moving forward, I've told myself that when I buy new yarn, I'm just going to buy sock weight yarn.
stick with one weight.
Yes.
So that you can interchange and like do color work super easily and stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With your scraps. Another great way to get some of that yarn is to thrift some old sweaters or find trash bags full of them on Facebook Marketplace like you did.
I did. I bought somebody's entire deceased grandmother's sweater collection.
It was like a lot of trash bags.
It was like 4 trash bags for $35.
Crazy. But you can take some of those sweaters that you might not wear but have good, like maybe an 100% cotton sweater, and you can harvest the yarn from it so that you have, you know, a sweater's worth of yarn to knit with in a shape that you might like a little bit better.
Absolutely. And one thing I feel like with a lot of like ready to wear sweaters, they come in a very, very thin yarn. But if you wanted to, you can always just like hold like 2 or 3 of those strands of yarn together while knitting to make it just like a little bit of a heavier weight of yarn.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're like stuck with using size 0 needles for your project. You can always like double up yarn to use a higher needle. Another thing that I feel like I've done in the past is sometimes I'll even take like yarn and just use it to make like pom-poms for like tops of hats. And I've also made like tassels. So I made this Easter garland and I had like little bunnies and I had this little like pom-pom that I glued on all the booties of the bunnies, which was
so
really cute. My daughter had like a hat that no longer fit and I just was able to like rip that hat apart and I made little like tassels out of it to go on the Easter garland. And it was actually kind of fun because since it had been knit, it was almost like it was like crimped. It was like a little bit of a wavy yarn to it, which I thought was actually really, really cute.
That's adorable. Next up, we have paper. Teresa, you talked about that craft during our fun question where you can take Trader Joe's bags and use them as a canvas to paint on. That is a great way to be scrappy with paper, but there are literally like endless ways to be scrappy with paper.
Absolutely. There are so many fun creative things that you can do with paper. One other thing that you can do is you can just like make cards with scrap paper. I love to see like all these different collages people do. Magazines aren't quite as popular as they once were, but I feel like some people get their hands on like vintage magazines that they find at like the thrift store or something, and they can cut them up and make really cool, like you can make greeting cards if you wanted to share your art and creativeness with like some friends, because I love snail mail and I feel like it's just like such a fun thing to spread and participate in.
And that's also very similar to junk journaling. Like you're collaging a card, but you can also collage your junk into a nice little journal to remember your year.
Yes, I saw one person who did a junk journal, but they had it just with fruit stickers.
Oh, I love that.
And I actually like kind of low-key love that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was so cute, and they just had it like in their kitchen.
So instead of using your grocery bags as a canvas, you can also use them for wrapping paper.
Yes.
And then you can make it cute with painting on it, just like you would a canvas. I don't know.
Painting or
Just another way.
stamping. You can do some like DIY wrapping paper. I've also done it where you save that like brown packing paper that comes in packages. I just like, you can iron it to make it a little bit more smooth if you want, or I just like roll mine up and I use that as wrapping paper. So one craft from the 90s that I have seen people do more and more again are making those like paper beads. So you take like a magazine and you cut it into a triangle with glue and you can wrap it around like a straw. And I've seen those around
God,
again.
how fun.
Those are like so fun and great to do
that.
with kids too.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of these are great to do with kids.
I've also made like clay out of egg cartons and flour and water.
Okay.
Which seems really, really bizarre, but you can make a
what?
clay, and it's fun because the whole thing is compostable. So at the end, it's just egg cartons, like flour, water. I'm pretty sure I have a
Do you
tutorial
like
on
stick
my
it
blog.
in a blender?
Yes.
Okay.
You do. You can soak the egg cartons for a while, and then you can like blend them up. I just use like my stick blender because I feel like I can clean it really well afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've made like little bowls and stuff out of it.
Oh, that's really
which is cute. Obviously not food safe. And you can't stick them in the dishwasher, but they're just cute, like little decorative bowls that you can do.
That is really cute.
And also, one other thing that I've done is like scrap paper.
I was gonna say, seems very similar to making scrap paper.
Yeah, or by scrap paper, I just mean like handmade paper. So I have a tutorial on my blog also to make like a decal, which is like whenever you go to make paper, you have to have like 2 frames almost sandwiched together and then like a screen, and then you blend up scrap paper so it's like into like a watery pulp. And then you can make like little paper. And I've made like seed paper, confetti paper with like little bits of crayon in it, which is really cute.
Oh, that's cute.
You can also add like pressed flowers into your paper, which is also really fun. And then that's just a way to like take scrap paper you may have just recycled and make it into like brand new paper, which I think is fun.
So another way to be scrappy with your paper products is to make a little DIY journal out of some scrap. You can use some scrap paper and some embroidery floss that you might have sitting around and just do some hand binding and make like a little cute journal. I know I have one that I made that I keep in my purse, and every time we go out to eat, I'm like, talking about the future and plans and what's going on this weekend or next weekend, and I'm writing notes in my little purse notebook that I made out of scraps.
That's so cute. I've also done a few like scrap journals where it's just like, I feel like I'll take some of my kids like artwork to make the cover. And that's really fun. It's also great for like kids. I feel like sometimes I'm like, we're gonna do nature journaling as like an activity, and like in 10 minutes I'll like whip up a quick journal really quick. And that's also super, super cute, and also goes well with junk journaling. I feel like you can make the junk journal that you then use to keep all your junk in.
Very much hand in hand.
Yes. Oh.
You can also be scrappy with finding things in nature to be creative.
Yes.
Like pressed flowers are a big one.
Yes.
A lot of people are into this, and it's super easy to do.
You can literally just press like violets from your yard.
They're everywhere.
Like a book, and then you can like use those. I've seen some people like put them as stickers, like they'll put them between like packing tape somehow. I don't even know. But that's super fun. A way to use pressed flowers. I've incorporated them into handmade paper like I've talked about. I've also Mod Podged them onto like the sides of candles, which is super fun. There are like endless possibilities with pressed flowers, and I feel like once you start pressing flowers, you can just like collect them.
Yes.
And have like a collection that then you can use later.
You can also dry your flowers. So if you have a bouquet that you were given, or maybe you are outside on a walk collecting flowers, you can bring those home, hang them upside down, let them dry out, and then you have flowers for a while.
Yes, I have just like a bunch of random flowers hanging from the rafters in my basement.
Me too. We both do.
Yes, but I think it's perfect because then it's just like sitting aside for when you want when creativity strikes. Another thing that I've done, and can be really fun with kids, are like hammered flowers. I've seen some people do this on fabric too, but you can literally just take like a flower and put it on a piece of paper, and then maybe like another piece of paper or wax paper or paper towel or something else on top, and you can hammer it, and it kind of makes those juices bleed out, and you can like make a little print that way.
Love.
Yes, I usually use like a hammer. You can use like a mallet. Just make sure you're doing it on a surface that makes sense. So not like your hardwood floors.
Yeah.
Maybe do it outside on the sidewalk.
Yep.
I've also like gone outside and literally just collected like our black walnuts, released these really long, like I would say like 10-inch stems. They're not stems, they're just like little branches, but they're flexible. And I've made like little brooms out of them, which I think is cute. And it was perfect
a cute little
for
fall
like
craft. But
Halloween. Yes, but I don't know, just like thinking about materials as you walk around, just being like, oh, what could I do with this?
Another way to be scrappy with nature is to do sun prints with turmeric. Highly suggest giving it a Google, but essentially you use turmeric as a paint, and then you put, your pressed flowers or something on top of the piece of paper or fabric that you've painted on, and you put it in the sun, and it kind of dyes the paper.
It's really cool.
It's really, really cool, and another great way to just be scrappy with what you might have in your pantry.
Yes, and I feel like that's a really great way to like make an art print that you may not have had, and then you like don't really have to go out and buy new things because you most likely already have some paper, and maybe you have turmeric, and
Hopefully
if you don't,
you have turmeric.
I suggested it's delicious. You can make some golden milk and maybe a curry that night for dinner.
Oh my God, perfect.
Oh, well, thank you so much for tuning in this week where we talked all about scrappy crafting. Hopefully you got some ideas or projects to do, or maybe even just got the wheels turning about how to maybe think a little bit differently about your creative practice.
And make sure to listen to our episode 2 episodes ago. It was kind of our part 1 to this, where we talked about sustainable crafting.
Yes, and hopefully you'll join us in 2 weeks when we talk all about the Adria top that we kind of teased at the beginning, and we'll talk more about sewing tops in general.
Thank you for joining us this week. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Make It Anyways, and leave us a review, a like, a subscribe, anything. We appreciate it.
Thank you. See ya.